All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Yang Gang Fitness Talks. Today I'm joined by Boothie,
Hello.
and we're gonna go over her fitness journey and learn something new, hopefully. How you doing, Boothie?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. How are you? How's the fam? How's the baby?
Oh, we're doing great. She just had a little bit of a blowout tonight, so that was fun to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
she
it was
didn't.
really cute for you to post her picture. It was a totally adorable picture.
Yeah, she's like such an angel.
Hmm.
And she's growing up so much, she's got, like a little personality now. So
How old is she?
she is
2 months?
2 months and a couple weeks, I think, now.
Oh wow, 2.5 months then.
Yep.
Phew.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. That's really great news.
Yeah. Um, so what's going on with you?
Well, so I've gone back to work physically instead of telecommuting. And overall, that's been really good. It's definitely an adjustment. And I feel really weird having to remind people to do things because I'm not trying to be the pandemic police and keep everybody like doing the things they need to do. But at the same time, I want to encourage a healthy environment and we have rules that we've got to follow and let's just follow them. It's not, it's not bad. We'll be okay. We'll get through this. So sometimes I have to remind people, hey, let's try to stay 6 feet apart and that sort of thing. So I'm kind of getting a little bit better at reminding people and also controlling my emotions with it.
Yeah,
So
that is pretty difficult. When I see people walking down the hallway with the mask off, I'm like, that defeats the purpose.
yeah. And I always like try to just say, oh, well, it's their person's choice. But at this point, it's like, guys, we've got to come together. We really do. And normally I'm pretty free about letting people make their own choices and doing things that work for them and their lifestyles. But when it affects so many others, I feel like people can step up and just wear a mask.
Yeah,
So trying to remind people of that at the same time, controlling my emotions, not being angry about it, and watching my tone, making sure that I'm really being more of on constructive level than anything else. But yeah, so I'm really glad to get out of the house. That's nice. The
hmm.
drive to work is the excitement of the day. And but yeah, it's nice to get into the office and actually sit at my desk. It's a little bit more ergonomic than my home desk for
Mm,
long periods of time. So it's nice to kind of get back in the sense like physically back into the order of
right.
things.
Yeah, I can hear that. Well, I've been working pretty much the whole time through, but we're a pretty small team and they kept the building to like minimum staff and everything, so it's been pretty good.
How's your home setup? Your home office, is it ergonomic and such?
It's okay. I don't, it's my gaming rig, so I only spent about 2 weeks here, and then I went back into the office.
Hmm.
So I've not had too much of a I'm tired of being home yet, especially with the baby.
Yeah, I bet.
But so why don't you tell me a little bit about your fitness journey and where you got started and how you're doing with Yang Gang Fitness and everything? I'm interested to find out.
Yeah, cool. So the very first like fitness thing I had ever like done on a formal level was in like middle school when they made us do timed miles. And I had
Hmm.
never before like done any sort of timed miles, so I didn't know what was good or bad, but I just ran and I enjoyed it. And I'm one of the people who actually really, really enjoys running. I really love the feeling after about the first half mile. The first half mile's kind of painful
Yeah.
like it's something where you're kind of tested. Like it's the first part where you're tested and it's like, hey, are you actually going to keep this up? Are you actually going to keep going? And you're like, oh, do I really have to run? But then once I hit that half mile, I start getting that rush, the runner's high they call it. And it feels so good. And then I get into my groove and then I get super motivated and that high stays with me for hours after I stop running.
Wow.
So running actually is one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, I
And
really enjoy running too, for sure.
yeah, don't you run marathons?
Yeah, well, I ran a marathon. I do have another one coming up, but I get that first half mile part because it's almost just a warm up.
Yeah. It's strange. No matter how much I run, that's still like the uphill battle, and it seems to be like a really good analogy for like kind of everything. When I first start learning something, it's like uncomfortable, and I'm pretty bad at it, and so then it gets even more uncomfortable because you're like, wow, I'm really terrible at doing this new thing, and then slowly, slowly, as you get better and better, you start developing your skills and all of that, over time, and so I think it's kind of a really good analogy that I just sort of place on everything. I'm kind of thinking, is this like the first half mile? Can I just get through this and things will get better after I get over that initial discomfort?
Yeah, that's a good philosophy to have.
So then after that, I went into high school and I started doing like the regular class periods of fitness that you have to do, and I started getting into weight training, and I really enjoyed that and got educated on that, carried it into college. And so I started to do some traveling abroad, and kind of doing a lot more moving around. And when I was doing that, I stopped doing as much regimented fitness. It was more sporadic at that point. And then after I got back from studying abroad and travel and such, then I started graduate school in my engineering degree. And because I was working full time, going to school full time, and then, of course, doing research, I slowly, slowly stopped doing much of anything regularly, with the exception of riding my bicycle everywhere.
Oh, nice.
So I would ride my bicycle, to and from school, to and from work, and then to the grocery store and things like that. And I was minimizing any kind of vehicle use. So that was really the only regular amount of exercise I was getting when I started taking on some pretty serious studies, while at the same time trying to economically survive and then set myself up for the future in research. So as the curriculum got more difficult, and as I was doing my thesis and trying to stay on top of everything, I pretty much stopped everything, and fitness was among those.
Mm,
I became pretty sedentary. And what you notice, or at least what I notice anyway, is that when you stop moving, it kind of begins a cycle. And so
mm-hmm.
I was starting to struggle, like with having to do analysis for 18 hours and still not actually finishing, and finding problems with the data, or there's something wrong with the importing of the data, and so then I had to try to start all over again, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so it was becoming super frustrating, and so I was getting really stressed out, and at the same time I wasn't having that stress relief that you get from fitness. And so then it took me longer to get my work done because it was so monotonous, or because it was challenging and difficult, and I was really having a difficult time. The last year that I was in school was the roughest year, mentally and physically. And I mean, I just cut everything off that wasn't absolutely essential to graduating and defending my thesis, which was really difficult because having a support system, having that regular structure, getting the endorphins, having your brain operating on exercise is really very healthy. So I just kind of had all of these things working sort of against my fitness journey.
Yeah. I don't know if you caught it, but the Yang Gang Book Club posted an article yesterday about that, how
You know,
uh,
I
how it affects the brain when you move.
I did see that, and it's totally true. I didn't read the actual article. I planned to. I bookmarked it,
Oh,
but
nice.
that it's totally true. Your brain on exercise is really something wonderful, and not having that in my life was really rough. Not that I necessarily consciously knew that. I mean, I
Mhm.
was having a really difficult time with the stress, and so I knew it was a struggle, but it wasn't like, wow, part of this is because I am not working out regularly. Like that
Yeah,
wasn't like a thing that crossed my mind. So then I graduated, I defended successfully, things were going
nice.
great. I got a job offer, I took the offer, and I started my first job, but I was still in kind of like coping mechanism land, and things were still a little bit unsettled. I had moved into a really bad area of a new city.
Mm,
So I was still kind of stressed out, and I was very, very still uneasy about things. So I wasn't taking fitness seriously at that time. I wanted to. I had plans to. I was like finding, the places to go work out. I was planning out places to cycle because I wanted to start cycling again. Like I had been doing all at
mhm.
university and all of that. So I was trying to get that, and then I got another job offer 2 months later. That was my dream job. So then I was
Oh,
like, oh
nice.
my gosh. So then I picked up and moved again.
Oh, wow.
And finally, I kind of settled down at the end of 2018. And a few months into having, moved and kind of unpacked a little bit and started to get settled and know where I was driving. And I started actually getting serious again about fitness because I was like, wow, I really need to do this. So I started just regular workouts, nothing special, because I wanted to try to ease into it. And I began to see a lot of really good results. And I was getting really encouraged. So then I started going more and more.
Nice.
And then I ended up injuring myself. Well, it,
Oh,
it isn't technically an injury. So what I have is a malaligned patella,
mm,
and it tracks laterally. So it hurts me the most when I do things like squats and bending down. If I have any amount of weight, or even if it's just body weight, but I sustain, so like a wall sit type deal.
yeah. Those
If
are
I've
like
if I,
the best, though.
they're
Yeah.
really good. They're so good. So, but then they starts hurting,
Dang.
and then it starts hurting more, and then it gets to the point where it's just excruciating. So I stopped kind of doing that. I had pushed really hard. I was running miles every day. I was dancing. Dancing is another thing I really really love. I was dancing salsa, samba, and I was doing Zumba. So I guess I took on too much too quickly
Mm,
because I was getting so encouraged by the response. I was getting really good response from my body as I was starting to work out. I was starting to feel a lot better. And so I just got more motivated and really excited, and I enjoyed myself. So I kind of went a little bit too fast, kind of putting myself back at the beginning when I had started in college. But now
mm.
things were a lot different
Yeah.
back then, but in my head it wasn't. It was kind of the same, and so I was like, well, I could do this mile, it's not a big deal. I was able to do miles in 6.5 minutes. It's fine, I can get there again. So
Yeah.
I pushed myself a little bit too hard, I think.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that when I've had two knee surgeries, so I know exactly what it feels like to push too hard and or not push enough sometimes. It's a struggle.
Well, didn't you say you tore your ACL twice or something?
Yeah, I tore my left ACL and a piece of that meniscus, and then I tore my right ACL, just the ACL.
Oh
And I've
man.
had both of them reconstructed from my patella. So,
How long of a recovery process was that?
It was, I think, if I remember correctly, like 6 weeks before I could walk
Jeez.
comfortably. And then I couldn't run in a straight line for 3 to 4 months. And then once I did some rehab there, I was finally able to play sports again in a brace at about 6 months, I think. It was something like that. But both times I was pretty bad about at the like 3 months mark when I started to be able to run again, actually doing some of the things that I was supposed to do for PT.
Yeah, I'm in that boat kind of right now. Because it's like I know I should really be doing my rehabby stuff, but I'd
Yeah.
really much rather not be doing the rehabby stuff. But I'm encouraging myself to continue and doing it. And I've got, different people on Instagram that I follow that really encourage me. They give you really good ideas on different things to do. And I found some other YouTubers that make some quick videos on, different things that you can do to help, that sort of thing. Were your surgeries concurrent or simultaneous, or were they like years apart?
They were a year and a half apart, I think.
Oh
So
man.
I was back into ultimate frisbee pretty strongly, and then I went in toward the other one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I I there's plenty of things I can blame it on, but I'll tell that story sometime, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I'm trying to make sure that I get my patella back on track on my one knee, and then prevent that from happening on my other knee.
Yes, that is
So
a good thing to do.
I am doing the rehabby things roughly 3 times a week, which I should be doing them a little bit more than that. But at least I'm doing something. So that's why I pat myself on the back for like, good job for not totally giving up.
Yeah, it's what you need sometimes, because even if you make a small step, it can feel huge.
Yeah, and then just kind of maintaining like it's sad to me because I was making really good progress and I was like, yes, I know my capabilities are going to be so much better. I know I can get to that sweet spot that I was in when I first started college and I was doing so well. And then now it's kind of like such a setback. And then the pandemic hit. So then it was kind of like,
Mm.
oh my goodness. So now not only do I have a sort of injury kind of thing that I'm rehabbing, I'm also having to not have an option to go to the gym. So as an extrovert, it's a lot harder for me to motivate myself all on my own.
Oh yeah.
So it's like really rare. Like I like being in a room with people, and like being with people helps energize me and kind of keeps
Hmm.
me going and pushing. And I'm also competitive, so it's nice to have somebody to sort of compete against, yeah, in a fun and healthy way, and be like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna go in and do this really cool thing, and then they do a cool thing. You're like, oh, I can do that cool thing, and so it kind of like keeps me going and keeps me there to finish up what I'm doing. And without that, it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
So I started this challenge. I was on Instagram and I started doing this fitness challenge with a whole bunch of other women. And that's when I got introduced to weighing food and tracking macros. So
Yes.
I was really kind of relieved to start that once I actually got into the groove of weighing food, because I was raised in a household where you finish everything, you clean your plate, you don't leave any stuff food on the plate for waste. You don't want to be wasteful.
Yeah.
You should be grateful for your food and eat everything. And so I grew up in this mentality of not really listening to your body and simply, your mom or your dad gives you an amount of food and you just eat it, whatever it is.
Mhm.
So now approaching this as, okay, what does my body need? And what does my body need of each different type? So watching those sorts of things was really nice. And being able to portion things out properly, I feel is so, so important. I have always cared about quality of food, but I haven't always been able to afford quality food. So
Yeah.
kind of combining the knowledge and understanding of choosing good foods and eating them in the right amounts. So, or like when you're a guest at someone's house and they give you food, you don't want to like be insulting and not eat your food. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like hard. I'm still getting used to that sort of thing. I haven't been over to anybody's house anytime, recently because of all this stuff, but that's still something that I struggle with where when I'm on my own, I do much better where I can say, okay, well, here's a portion of food, but I'm listening to my body and I'm not scarfing things down anymore. I did that a lot through college trying to eat as quickly as possible and other things like when you do things while you're eating. So like if I be reading, some kind of assignment while I'm eating so that I could be more productive
Oh yeah.
or things like that. And even other things like choosing foods to try to optimize your mind, like your brain function and stuff, where
Yeah.
find brain food and that's glucose. So then you're like, okay, well, what can I eat with glucose that will help me do really well on this test? And those kinds of things where not that I'm not saying that's
Right.
necessarily bad. You do want to choose good foods for brain function and stuff, but at the same time, if you're trying to like super dose on glucose so you can ace an exam, it's probably not the healthiest
Yeah.
approach to your food. So finding that balance, I think, is really really useful, and I'm getting a lot better. One of the other things that I've noticed with it's called mindful eating is when
Mhm.
you eat mindfully, you chew slower and more. You don't do other things while you're eating,
Hmm.
and you take sort of a moment at the beginning where you just sort of breathe in and do one of the things that you like to do. Like, so for me, it's like, I think about things I'm grateful for, or, other people think about some kind of positive thing that they really like their family or their pets or things like that that really get them in a good state. And so I try to get really grateful. I have my health, I have my sanity, I still have my job. A lot of people have lost their jobs, being furloughed or laid off, and so I
Mhm.
really think about those sorts of things, and I do that right before I eat, which gets me into like a really sort of happy mood already, and that helps me be a little bit more in tune with myself and my body, and I just feel a lot better overall because food also is sort of a comfort for me. is
Yeah.
is that how it is for you at all?
Yeah. I have yet to identify exactly what why I eat some of the times the way I do, but I it's definitely got to be some sort of a comfort thing for me or just a mild addiction maybe. But I do get the um going over to people's houses and stuff because my in-laws, my mother-in-law's got Italian in her, so it's
Mm,
always, oh, there's seconds on the table,
yeah,
plenty of food, you can eat it.
yeah,
And then I'm sure you also
yeah,
encountered uh, study study snacks with
yes.
study groups, because that definitely happened during my engineering degree. So,
And hackathons.
oh yeah,
So, you have this challenge for those who don't know what a hackathon is, you have a challenge for a certain amount of a period of time, so like 24, 48 hours.
Mhm.
So you're binge everything. You're binge eating, you're binge coding, you're binge building, you're doing whatever is needed to be done. And, sometimes you're depriving yourself of sleep because you want to win the
Mhm.
challenge or whatever. So, like,
Binging that Red Bull.
it's like, yeah, you're pushing whatever you can to optimize your productivity in this limited amount of time. And it's super unhealthy, but that's kind of the culture where it's like, we're not as concerned with your body. We just want you to make some cool engineering thing.
Yeah. We think that if we cram you in there for a short period of time, you can come up with something under the pressure.
Well, and also, I mean, it is really effective. It is very, very
Mhm.
productive. It's just very unhealthy as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, that's sort of something where you're like, oh man, I really want to be super duper productive, and so you try to do seven things at once, and at least that's how I am, where I try to do all of that sort of thing, and then I just feel kind of awful afterward.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
So, so speaking of sleep, though, sleep actually did really help with indigestion. So
Hmm.
when I worked nights, I started to get indigestion after about like 2 years of working nights during college.
Huh.
So I put my name on the list for the day shift, and after I ended up getting the day shift and I was sleeping regularly, it went away. Now later on, in at the end of grad school, I started to get it again, and I think it was actually because I was sort of overeating at the time that I was allowing myself to eat. So like I'd be like, okay, cram for 4 hours and then eat for 15 minutes and then, get back to it before class or whatever
Oof.
whatever the case may have been. So then I was like jamming my stomach full of food
Mm.
in very small increments of time. And so I think I was distending my stomach, and eventually that's I started to get indigestion again. And this time I kind of knew what it was, because the first time I experienced it, I had no idea what it was. And I just thought it was because I was working nights.
Yeah.
So now that I had felt it once before, I was like, wow, something's really wrong. So I tried to go and systematically eliminate certain things. And my first thing was I thought it was one of these green powders. So I was doing some super greens
Yeah.
powder, and I was adding it to like a just a regular smoothie. And I was certain it was that. So I took that out of my diet.
Mm.
And then later on, I mean, I just ended up having it, and so it's still having the indigestion. So I was like, oh, well, I guess that was wrong. So slowly, slowly, I was whittling it down. And Witches for Yang brought this up about the microbiome.
Yeah.
So I started to take a lot more of a look at my gut, and you find that so many things of the all these things are connected. So between sleeping and eating correct portions and being mindful of what I was eating, all ended up helping me, along with some probiotics of taking care of my gut. And then now I don't get indigestion anymore, even if I eat highly acidic foods like tomatoes
Hmm.
or things like that, that generally will spark people's indigestion.
Oh yeah.
So that was in and of itself another learning curve, I guess, to kind of understand, what is my body even doing? Why am I feeling this way?
Yeah, I probably need to work on that too then, 'cause that's one of my main issues is when we have spaghetti, that tomato acidity just kind of kills me.
So a couple of things I learned about that. So I have a Band-Aid. The Band-Aid that you can use, it is called licorice root extract. So you can
Mm.
either have licorice tea, or you can have what's called deglyceride licorice root.
Hmm.
And the deglycerization is because licorice can mess with your electrolyte, or licorice root can mess with your electrolyte ratios, and have you retain water, and then your blood pressure goes up.
Uh,
So if you have the licorice tea, then you shouldn't have one a day for more than a month in succession. But if you don't have it every single day, you should be all right.
Right.
Now, if you take the deglycerinated tabs, they usually come in like tabs. I get mine at Sprouts. But what that does is it actually coats the lining of your esophagus and your stomach so that if the acid comes up, it doesn't start deteriorating the mucus in the lining.
Huh.
So that's the band-aid. But the other part about it is, introducing probiotics and prebiotics, as well as preventing the distension of your stomach when you're not eating acidic foods.
Huh.
So making sure you are keeping up your portions at all other times will help your stomach not open up so much more. And then I guess I already said the probiotics, prebiotics. So taking those, I take one every day now. After
Okay.
I stopped getting the indigestion, I stopped taking them because I thought, oh great, everything is fine, it's all fine. And then I was reading a little bit more about probiotics, and it's actually really good to kind of maintain that gut flora. So, you know, I talked myself into buying them because they're usually pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But I mean, other people do get probiotics from food sources, like kimchi is a
Yeah.
really good option, yogurt, but you kind of have to eat a lot of yogurt.
Hmm.
Or regularly. So it's actually some cultures eat it after every lunch or meal or something like that. Like they'll have like lunch and dinner, and then they'll have a yogurt after.
Huh.
So if you have it
Sky.
regularly, then it would be okay to be getting them from that. Or kefir is another really good
Yeah. My
probiotic.
wife loves keeper.
Oh, it's so good. I love it too. But I like to take the supplement because I know how much I'm getting and I
Hmm.
know that I'm getting it regularly because I don't
Right.
eat yogurt every single day. And, so for me that's what works. And I really am a proponent of like, hey, find what works for you.
Right.
Really go for what works for your lifestyle because if it's a good thing to do but you don't do it,
Yeah.
then
That
I
doesn't
think
help
it's
you.
yeah, exactly. So you got to kind of fit, like the best diet is the diet that you'll stick to, is I
Exactly.
guess the saying. So hey, if you've got to have yogurt, have yogurt. If you've got to have, once a week, whatever your weakness is, ice cream or whatever it may be,
Whew.
do that so that you keep it up. Otherwise, you're just gonna be miserable, and then you might end up going back to your bad diet because your new diet isn't one you want to stick to.
Right. Oh, I love me some refeed days on the weekends. It's so great. Or
um,
especially days where you run that marathon or half marathon and you got like
yeah,
an extra 1,000 calories to put into your body.
nice. Do you do that carb loading or whatever they say? I've never run a marathon myself, so I don't really know like what that kind of thing is. Do you
I
like do that?
I I did a lot of or a good bit of digging on that and I tried to implement it for my first marathon, but I think I failed a little bit because my by the end of the marathon I had like no energy, so I think
Hmm.
I didn't dial my nutrition in quite right, but I always believed that carb loading was the night before you did a big event. You just jam a bunch of noodles in your stomach. Uh, lo and behold, while I was studying for the marathon, that is not the case. Usually it's spread out through like the whole week before you start building up a uh, energy storage supply with a lot of carbs.
Hmm.
So I tried to do that, but life kind of got in the way that week and we were super busy, so I did not have time to like count out and like plan and everything. And I survived. I was fine, but um, I think I could have performed a lot better if I figured out my nutrition a little bit more.
So you said you had one coming up that you're training for. Do you think you're gonna try it for the next one?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably try that, and I'm gonna try and get an actual decent test run in beforehand because I only went up to about 19 miles, and people said that that's pretty good to figure out what you need nutrition wise for the whole
Hmm.
thing. It was wrong. So,
Really?
well, I mean, for me at least, I should have done like a 21 or 22 mile, and because there was
Hmm.
just like the last 4 miles, I was just spent. It was a good thing I had a buddy running with me, otherwise I would have just laid down.
Yeah. Man.
Yep,
So you got to start a week beforehand?
that's what I was reading. Yeah, yeah. It's not like you're packing on a ton of spaghetti every night, but
Hmm.
increasing your carb intake basically from
Does
what
it
you've
matter
been
the
doing.
type of? Oh, what was that last part?
Depending, it's just depending on
Oh.
where you're at, I guess. If you've been running marathons your whole life, it probably doesn't matter as
Hmm.
much.
So does it matter the type of carbohydrate that you load on or just any carbohydrate?
um, that I can't quite remember. I know
Hmm.
I was just kind of like avoiding, you know, sugar as a carb
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I'm sure uh, nutritionists probably could give you a better answer. I didn't do
Okay.
enough study. I was just like, all right, this has carbs in it. I'm running a marathon this week. I'm gonna eat it.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing an update on your next marathon.
Yeah, it's in January down in Disney, so we'll see if the virus clears out in time for that.
Yeah, I hope it does. So my interests right now with fitness are food pairing. So
With wine?
apparent no. but but yeah, I guess I should have probably come up with a better way to kind of say like what I'm trying to say. So like you know how if you eat like vitamin D, you want to have some calcium so that you can absorb it better.
Yeah, yeah,
So I wonder if there's anything to that, like with like not just taste and palate and stuff. I
yeah.
wonder if like when we pair things together, it actually like is some benefit.
Yeah,
Like they
right.
have some benefit together, but we just interpret as a good tasting or something. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway, what I'm interested in finding out is like what cool foods we can pair together that optimize each other.
Hmm.
Like that, I want to start learning more about. I don't know a whole bunch about it, but I do know a few things about like, what can help you absorb other things or different things that help um, allow for maximum absorption. So, like fats, for
Yeah.
example, like fats help you absorb nutrients.
Right.
So you want to choose really good fats. So like the monounsaturated and the polyunsaturated, long and medium chain triglycerides. Those are the things you're kind of looking for. So when you have that in your meal, then it's really cool to have, specific vitamins that you want to really absorb. So if you have like green leafy vegetables or something with that, that'll be really good because then you're getting your iron from your
Hmm.
green leafy vegetables and then you're getting your fats, but you're also having each of those work with each other for maximum absorption type deal.
Right.
So I'm really interested in learning more about that. I don't know a whole bunch, but I really want to learn more about that and the new thing about like growing meat textured plant protein
Yeah.
because I actually really like meat. Like I like the taste, I like the
Same.
texture, I like the feeling that I feel after meat. Like even if it's just a small portion of meat, like I
Mm-hmm.
like it. So I was thinking, I'm not trying to be 100% plant-based, but I do really work to find good plant foods. Like I really love lentils. I really
Yeah.
like quinoa. So I mean, I like those things and stuff.
Asparagus.
Ah,
Mm.
yeah. Alfalfa sprouts. I also
Oh,
really
I
like
haven't
those
had
on
those.
sandwiches.
I haven't had
Um,
those yet.
really? So,
Yeah.
some Jimmy John's has the alfalfa sprouts and they put them on your sandwich.
Oh, nice.
And I think they taste delicious. So those kinds of things are really cool, I think, to incorporate into your meal. But yeah, I'm really hoping that we can get some really good plant proteins that have similar textures and feelings in your belly after you eat them. So I'd totally be on board with eating those. So I try to keep up kind of on the technological advances there. Although
Yeah.
I'm wondering like how much of the processing would then make it more of a processed food. So I don't know. I've got to learn more. But
Yeah.
those are things that I want to learn
Yeah, that
for
was
that.
kind of I didn't get to get into it in the last talks, but I do want to do more research into stuff like that because if the whole planet goes to just plants only, I'm very curious as to what the numbers would be of how much like processed plant food we would have to start producing.
Well, what do you think about insects? A lot of people are like insects should be eaten for their protein content and sustainability
I
initiatives.
I I've never heard that, but that is interesting.
So apparently it's a thing where people really think eating insects is really the next way to go. I want to say I read an article about a mealworm farm and they were like
Hmm.
growing mealworms to make into like, processed foods that more so resemble foods that we know and love, but they're
Oh
made
wow.
out of mealworms and bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
So then we can reduce our dependence on larger livestock and um, really big farms.
Huh. I
Yeah,
don't know how I
that's
have not heard of that before.
look it up. It's a thing. I don't know how I feel about it, which is why I was asking you.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel. I guess if it tastes good, maybe, and it has all the right stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's not cute like a cow or anything, so there's that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'd have to see more about it. I think we really should probably find the balance between good solutions that need processing and good solutions that don't need processing, but you know, have some sort of balance between those two, where we're not processing too much, but we're processing enough so we like things we eat.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's we're all still learning, I guess.
Yeah. It's all about making the good options cheaper and more abundant, and the processed foods go by the wayside at that point. But I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I don't either. And I'm not 100% against processing,
Right.
like butter or yogurt even. I consider those semi-processed. But then I
Yeah.
consider like margarine and American cheese to be like too processed that I will not eat them.
And McDonald's burger.
Yeah, I am not into that much processing. But at the same time, I'm kind of, I'm okay with cheese. I'm okay with eating cheese, and that's processed.
Yeah. True.
Um, but I think there's just a limit of the amount of process or the types of processes that I'm willing to accept, or even like synthesis of something that isn't natural versus synthesis of something that mimics nature.
Yeah.
I would prefer the one that mimics nature over the one that does not.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So, some things that I'm learning and keeping my eyes on.
Yeah. So what drew you to join Yang Gang Fitness so quickly then?
Oh, yeah.
We haven't gotten
Okay.
to that.
So, yeah, sorry. So when I was in the pandemic, I still wanted to continue my fitness journey because I had been making progress even amid my malaligned patella.
Mm,
I was still making progress. And I did that challenge with a bunch of women, but I started to lose steam with it
mm.
because the workouts were so long.
Oh wow.
And even though it was like, oh, the workouts are only 50 minutes, well, you first have to learn what the workouts are. And then, like, the learning of the workouts were just like, 15-second clips. So
Mm,
you'd put the clip on, you'd take a look, and then you'd try it yourself, and then you'd be like, wait, this doesn't look right. Am I doing it right? And then double check, and then you'd get it, and then I'd be doing my reps, and then I'd forget what rep I was on, so then I wouldn't know where I was at, and so after a while, I did it really well for about 8 weeks, and after a while, I was like, this isn't working. It's too long. It's now becoming a chore. It's no longer fun. So then I kind of just gave up on that and didn't really do very much until I was on Twitter, wasting time on Twitter. And then I saw Yang Gang Fitness and I was like, I want this. I want to be a part of this. And it's like, whatever you can do, that's fine. But the biggest part of it is just starting. So it's
yeah.
like, dude, I can do that. I can totally do that. So then not only was I doing that, like, okay, I can start and it can be anything. It can be 5 minutes going up and down stairs. It can be dancing to 3 songs in a row or whatever I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And it also filled my feed with really encouraging stuff. So going onto
Hmm.
the fitness hashtag were like-minded people who were also just other people, and so it was a really beautiful connection. It was motivating. It uplifted my timeline instead of really sad posts about the pandemic and people passing away and massive racial tension and political tension and all of these things going on in the world. And then we get some really good light content that is also healthy and something that I wanted to do. So I jumped on that and I asked you if I could join, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to start going through and adding people. And then it became a really fun part of the community, that I'm already a part of. So I really enjoyed that. And it started to pick me up, like the challenges will be like, oh, you're scrolling through timeline, oh man, challenge. Ah, okay, get down and give me 20. Raceland's challenges. Oh my goodness. With the watch guessing, I was like, stop guessing.
But that's the fun of it.
No. It's not the fun of it, but then it was kind of fun because then I was like, engaging with all of these other people and enjoying, the interaction. And then the next day, Roy posted his video. And so I was like, oh man, now I really have to do it. So I think it was really fun to be like engaged with my friends who were already a part of my, Twitter friend group
Yeah,
and doing things together, even though we're so far apart and even though things are really rough. It's
right.
just been such a breath of fresh air
I agree.
coming through, yeah, into my life. So it's been really fun. And then the group chat's been really fun. So it's kind of gotten me back to be like, okay, even if it's small, even if it's a little bit, you can do it. Also, really, really good recommendations from my fellow Yang Gang Fitness members that I am also incorporating into my life that are just small YouTube videos where they say, "Oh, this YouTuber is really good," and so then I'll go
Oh yeah.
look that person up, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's great! 8 minute chest, I can do that."
That's not 50 minutes.
That is not 50 minutes, and I can just follow along. It's not a 15-second clip that then I have to figure out the form and be careful because I'm, using high resistance or anything like that. Like it's simple and it's sustainable. Just like when you choose the food you want to eat, you choose something that you'll stick to, and so this is that for me in the fitness form.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. The people that are putting some really good like leads to contacts and suggestions has been awesome.
And encouraging too.
Yeah.
I love the dialogue in there, and I did buy some of that protein that was on sale. Thank you for putting that in the group chat. I totally put that in, and I got some for a really good deal. And I do that. I'm okay with supplementing because I don't always get what I need through my
Right.
diet. I don't always get that, so I definitely supplement. I take vitamins every day, and I kind of keep track of what I do just to make sure that I'm getting where I want to go. And so far, when I started my most recent portion of my fitness journey, um, from then to now, I have lost 25 pounds.
Wow. Nice.
So
Congrats.
thank you. I am only about 7 pounds from my optimal weight.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that, especially because, amid all of the craziness in the world and amid, having a malaligned patella and feeling stressed about what's the right thing to do and what should I do and how should I talk to family members and, how should I have positive discourse even among disagreement, all of these stressors in life, and having this is really really helpful. So thank you for being a part of igniting the Yang Gang fitness group.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been phenomenal to see everybody joining in and having fun with it for sure.
So much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you done with the patella issue? Have you done much like weight training to strengthen your glutes and stuff like that?
So I use resistance bands
Oh, okay.
because the weight training can get a slightly dicey for two reasons. One, remember how I told you I get really encouraged?
Yeah.
And so then I start pushing a little too hard. I'm like, no, I
Mm.
can do this. It's fine. It's fine. I can do it. And then I end up kind of regretting it after. So I've been sticking with the resistance bands. I found some really good resistance bands that I really like. They're actually textile, where
Nice.
I have the regular I don't know, plastic rubber.
Rubber,
I'm not
yeah.
entirely sure what they are, but those actually, when I'm wearing shorts and I'm sweating, they slip all around, and I don't know. I'm always afraid I'm gonna snap them, even though even if I don't, I'm still always like, oh, maybe I shouldn't push it too far because what if it snaps and
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. So I've been using these new resistance bands that are textile, and they are really fantastic.
Hmm.
So I've got three resistance levels, and so I use those depending on whatever exercise that I'm doing at that time. I'll use one that makes it challenging, and then if I get really good, I kind of double them up.
Oh, nice.
So then I have, a bigger range of options. I have not tripled them before, but I am willing to try that.
Once you get desperate for some more outdoing yourself basically.
Yes, and then once I have mastered the triple resistance band, then I will feel comfortable going back to strength training. Oh, the second reason. The second reason why strength training is dicey also is that I can't go to the gym.
Yeah, good point.
So I do have dumbbells, and each of my dumbbells is 20 pounds up to. So they have I've got like a 5 and a 10 that go
Yeah.
on either side, and then the actual handle itself weighs. So like the sum of just one is
20.
20, and then two of them together is 40. So I mean, I could get a 40-pound option, but that's not even a bar. Like the bar for like squats and stuff's like
Yeah.
45. So I was like, is this really doing what I want it to
Yeah.
do?
You can use it to tone a little bit, but not like make big strengthening moves.
Yeah. So I mean, they are useful for things like lunges, I've found.
Right.
If you do high rep lunges with the 40 pounds, it actually, I do feel it for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't do as much with the dumbbells for glutes or legs at this moment.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll be able to get back into the gym in the next month or so, depending both on my progress and the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that opens up. And I'm trying to stay as hopeful as I can. So
Same.
hopefully, in a month it will be. And if not, I can still manage, and I can try my triple resistance band thing.
Yeah, with I need to get some bands. I've bought a couple of kettlebells, and that's about what I use to strengthen things, and I just miss the gym because it was the place to make sure I could keep my knees safe. So now when I
Hmm.
run, it's always a bit of a worry.
I have a massive mirror that I usurped from a closet door. You know the closets that have like mirror doors?
Yeah.
So I bought one of those off Craigslist
Oh,
a
nice.
while back, and so I have that in my living room, and so I use it to like check form and stuff.
That's
So
good.
that's my, non-gym but trying to be gym-like thing that I have going on that helps with form, making sure your
Right.
knees are in the right spot, cuz I love being able to check my form in a mirror. It's a completely different perspective than just from your own point of view.
Oh yeah. I have to use a when I'm doing my kettlebell swings because those are easy to get thrown off on form. I turn on my
Yeah.
webcam,
Yeah. Oh,
watch
good
myself.
idea. That is a really good idea, webcam
Yeah, we don't have a big enough mirror, so I just turn on the webcam and watch myself on the big monitor.
monitor. Nice. See, now this is the kind of resourcefulness that I have come to appreciate in Yang Gang Fitness Group.
Yep. Yeah, we got people. Some people are really creative. That's for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I love how it's flourishing.
Yeah.
It was so much fun talking to you, Stephen. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you've probably got to get back to the family.
Yes, I gotta go make sure everybody's sleeping. So if there's
Yeah.
anything else you want to say directly to the community, you can have that now.
All right. Well, let me go through my list here that I had to make after witches took all the topics. So I think the only thing I haven't really discussed was how stress had also made an impact on on sort of like my demotivation,
Yeah,
where if I if I actually work out, it helps me manage my stress, which helps me prevent feeling like down in dumps. But if you continue not working out and letting the stress sort of take over, then it starts your downward spiral. So that was the only thing that, like, yeah, I was super stressed out, but if I just get in, an 8-minute thing, or even if it's just the Yang Gang challenge of the day, like,
right,
do your leg lifts, and then, like, that's a start. That's where you can get going, and then trying to start that trajectory upward rather than allowing yourself to do a spiral downward.
right.
Yeah, that's the last thing that I wanted to say.
All right. Well, it has been a pleasure,
Yeah,
I
I've
have to
had so
say.
much fun talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you too. I feel like we could delve into a lot of the things you talked about even further, but maybe next time.
Yeah, once I learn more about the insects.
Yes, we'll have to revisit that topic. I assume
Sounds
you'll
good.
post some Twitter thing.
Sure, I can do that.
Awesome.
See, now I'm volunteering. You got me volunteering, delegating bug
Yeah,
food research.
research. Yeah.
If you want my body and you think I'm sexy, come on, sugar, let me know.